Hey guys, welcome in. Happy Friday. It's another edition, Rob Kendall Show. Play along on Twitter, at Rob M. Kendall, robkendallshow.com. Speaking of Rob Kendall Show, you guys demanded, we responded. We've heard from you guys all week. Hey, I love YouTube, love watching you on YouTube, but I get my podcast somewhere else. When are you guys going to be on the other platforms? The answer is now. You can now get us on all the places. We told you it was coming. We said just have a little patience with us, and now you can get us at all the places. I've got the link up there, which covers all the podcasting platforms, at Rob M. Kendall on Twitter. Got it pinned to the top of the feed, at Rob M. Kendall on Twitter. If you're a Facebook person, got it pinned there as well. You can also find it at robkendallshow.com, robkendallshow.com. And now you can get to the podcast wherever you want, your favorite places. robkendallshow.com will give you all of that information. All right, so a lot to get to today. By the way, if you haven't yet, please do us a huge favor. Like, share, and subscribe to the feed. We are growing. We're doing great. Almost 1,500 subscriptions, which is outstanding. Thousands of people viewing each day. We know that'll grow with the podcast as well. We are dependent upon you. Please like, share, and subscribe our feed. And that is what we need you to do right now. You guys have been awesome. It's been an amazing first week. We couldn't do it without you. And now that the disclaimers are over, let's get to the show. So as you know, on this program, we try to keep our focus stuff going on in the state of Indiana, how it affects you, Indiana news, politics, government. But we also talk about some national things if they're going to affect us back home. A lot of national stuff does. And certainly, security of our nation affects us here in the state of Indiana. And yesterday, there was a big move in security of the United States. Kristi Noem out as the head of Homeland Security. Now, this was fascinating. If you watched this all go down over the past couple days, so Kristi Noem, she's the former governor of one of the Dakotas, South Dakota, North Dakota, doesn't matter. Anyway, was sort of a rising star in the Republican Party. A lot of people believe she was going to run for president in 2024. She ultimately decided against that, didn't want to take on Trump, became a Trump supporter, got this job as the head of Homeland Security. And from the moment she was picked, a lot of people said, this is the sizzle without the steak. This is someone that is being picked based on looks, on internet presence, not on her ability to actually govern. And I think, frankly, you've got to say, based on the year plus of her being in this position, those people were probably right. Now, Kristi Noem, we'll talk about why she was taken down or why she was ultimately basically forced to resign. She is really a reminder of how power and influence and prestige takes down so many people who I think are well-intended, that come into public office well-intended. What do I mean by that? Well, look, I think a lot of people, look, there are some people, many people who go into politics for the wrong reasons. They want those things. They want power. They want prestige. They want fame. They want influence. There's a lot of those people out there. But I also think that there are people who go into politics, who go into government, because they want to do the right thing. And sadly, a lot of those people, the majority of those people, the vast majority of those people, they end up getting swallowed up by the trappings of politics and government. And I think that's sort of the story of Kristi Noem, where you have to be able to say no. In order to be good at government, you have to be able to put everything, and most importantly, everybody above yourself. You have to say, am I doing what's right for the people? And doing what's right for the people has to be put ahead of bettering yourself. And when you're on the outside, it's really easy. Trust me, I know, I've seen it. Seen it from the outside and seen it from the inside. It's really easy to say, well, if I was in there, I would. If I were in that position, here's what I would do. I can't believe the way these politicians operate. But people aren't handing the freebies in front of you. They're not waving them in front of you. It's easy to say, I would, when you know you're not going to be in that position. It takes a really resolute, very strong-willed individual to turn down the trappings that politics and government presents in front of people. Look, I think so many people enter politics and government and they lose themselves as humans. We've talked about this before. The job itself becomes their identity. The power that comes with the job becomes who they are. They get addicted to the power. They get addicted to the fame. They get addicted, in many cases, to the money that comes with it. And you lose yourself in the sense of trying to become bigger and better and more important. And in the process of losing yourself, you lose the ability to do the best job for the people of this country. And I think that's what happened with Kristi Noem. So here's why Kristi Noem went down. Now, look, Kristi Noem had been on the hot seat for several months now because of the handling of what was going on in Minneapolis, especially the shooting of Alex Pretty. Now, the first woman that was shot by the ICE agents, the video was pretty crystal clear. She was trying to run that ICE agent over. And of course, there's always going to be people that are going to object, that are going to scream, they're going to shout, oh, ICE bad, Trump bad, Orange man bad, all of that stuff. I think the video, the multiple videos were pretty clear that woman was trying to do damage and didn't care who she harmed in the process. The Alex Pretty shooting, a little different. And I think the video bore out that the ICE agents, and look, this is not an indictment of ICE. It's not an indictment of the brave people that are willing to suit up every day and try to do what's right for their country. But I think the majority of Americans believe that that shooting was unwarranted, and Kristi Noem didn't handle it well, essentially attacking Alex Pretty, the man who was killed by the ICE agents. And so, look, Trump has a short fuse, right? We know that. He doesn't have a lot of patience for people who make him look bad, who cause him problems. So she was already on the hot seat. Then she goes in front of this Senate hearing earlier this week, and Tom Tillis, who is a senator from North Carolina, John Kennedy, who is a senator from Louisiana, they start grilling her over this $220 million ad buy. $220 million ad buy, which basically kind of just promotes herself. The ad seemed to be more about her than any government function. And by the way, when you're $35 trillion in debt, government shouldn't be spending money advertising anything. Every dollar we spend when you're $35 trillion in debt, one, adds to inflation, so we pay more for it. And two, it is going to force future generations who don't have a vote to pay it back. Now, off of this $220 million, so these senators are very upset about this. They don't like her anyway. Like these senators handle people with kid gloves if they like you. If they don't, yeah, they'll get tough. They didn't like her anyway. So Tom Tillis, John Kennedy, they're grilling her on this $220 million expenditure. And she basically alludes to, well, Trump said it was okay. Trump signed off on it. Trump said it was fine. Well, then the press, of course, tracks down Trump and he goes, oh, heck no, I didn't sign off on this. Even if Trump had signed off on it, he won't go fall on the sword for anyone. And so now you've got the head of Homeland Security making this exorbitant expenditure, then claiming the president of the United States had signed off on it. The president, whether it's true or not, directly contradicts her. And so now you got a major problem because the allegations are coming out. Did she lie in front of Congress? You can lie to a lot of people. The Congress people can lie all the time, but you can't lie to Congress. Oh, that's the one big no-no you're not going to do. Then it comes out that the company that did the ad buy was a company called Strategy Group, according to The Hill, that has ties to Noem's political operation. I saw a report this morning that said only 3 companies were allowed to bid on this project, and they were all super connected into Kristi Noem's orbit, or people around Kristi Noem's orbit. Noem claimed in the hearing she knew nothing about awarding the contract. The only problem with that is she had installed a rule that she personally had to sign off on any contract above $100,000. Well, I don't know if you guys can math. $220 million is far above $100,000. So now you have a woman making an exorbitant expenditure at a time where our country's $35 trillion in debt. It appears just to promote herself more so than any government cause or operation or anything else that would benefit the taxpayers. She is contradicted by the president that he signed off on the expenditure. She claims she didn't have anything to do with awarding the contract, yet she had a rule that she installed that said anything over $100,000 she had to sign off on. And now the reporting is that all the bidders, the people who are allowed to bid, were somehow in her orbit. That is all bad news. Any one of those things probably would have been enough to do her in. But when you put them together, there was no way she was going to survive. Now, the bigger story is not whether some politician was corrupt. The big story is not whether some politician used taxpayer money for their own personal benefit. The big story is the system itself. Because the system itself sets people up to do what Kristi Noem did. Call it the swamp, call it the hot tub, whatever you want to call it. The system is designed to manipulate politicians, to take the weaknesses of people and exploit them. That's what the system is about. The system in politics is all about leverage. What can I leverage over you to do what I want you to do? Look, some people are a cheap date. Some people are easy. Some people it takes quite a bit. But the system, because our system of governance is basically taking money from one group of people and giving it to another group of people. That's what we do. That's how the whole system works. The tax system, right? We take money from you, you pay it in taxes, and then it's given out to other people. When you have a system that's set up like that, which is people disproportionately benefit in the tax system, people will do just about anything to ensure they come out ahead. And so with these powerful lobbyists and the donors and the people with the special interest, you have these businesses that benefit off the government. These politicians just continually have people throwing stuff in their direction. And when you have people keep throwing stuff in your direction, you start to believe you're really important. And I think that's what happened to Kristi Noem. You're in long enough, you're high profile enough, you start to believe you're really important. You start to believe you're bigger than, you're better than, that the rules don't apply to you, that you can do whatever you want. It's why for a long time I've talked about not acting like these politicians are special when you're around them. Not acting like it's some privilege that you get a photo with them. Not acting like it's some big deal that oh my gosh, I got to be around this person. It feeds the ego, and the ego drives the people to do stuff like this. The ego, where these people think they are bigger and better than everyone else. Kristi Noem, people like her say, oh, $220 million to promote myself? Well, why wouldn't I do that? It's someone else's money. The reality is, the right thing to do is to say, this is ridiculous. We don't need to spend $220 million on this. That's not a good use of someone else's money. I heard this said years ago, and it's absolutely true. Money is your liberty and freedom. Earning money is something you give up. You give up your liberty and freedom for. Because every dollar you earn, you have to give up your time to earn it. That is what money represents. Liberty and freedom. You give up your liberty and freedom, things you'd rather be doing, to go earn money. And that always stayed at the forefront of my thinking as an elected person. Every dollar I spend is someone's liberty and their freedom. Every dollar spent is someone's liberty and freedom. And when you think about it like that, you should have immense respect for every dollar spent, because that is the human element of it. Kristi Noem didn't have it. Like so many, she got caught in the trappings of government, and now she is out. Let me tell you a little bit about our friends at Bramwell Mackay. These guys are awesome. Bramwell Mackay has been with us since the beginning. They're incredible. They're huge fans. They're huge supporters. And like we said, Bramwell Mackay, many other businesses, they're going to be coming on next week. We're going to be telling you about them. They have been outstanding in terms of supporting us, supporting what we do, supporting our show. And please let these businesses know that you're hearing, even if you don't need their service in the moment. Heard your ad on Rob's show. When I need you, I'm going to call you. Leaky chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't offer just quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is your biggest investment. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, your masonry, foundation, and chimney specialist. Guys, can we talk about real quick something that someone sent me, one of you, the listeners, viewers, sent me yesterday? This is hilarious. So we had talked in the past about our name for Todd Young, U.S. Senator from Indiana, is the Duke of Spendingburg. And we dubbed him that because he was, I assume he still is, the largest spending Republican senator in the entire Senate. Gave a run, assume he still is giving a run, to be the largest spending senator of all 100 senators. Todd Young has voted to add trillions upon trillions of dollars to our nation's debt as a U.S. senator. He has done immense harm to the economy, immense harm in terms of inflation. And so our name for him is he is the Duke of Spendingburg. Somebody sent me yesterday that in Google, if you enter Duke of Spendingburg now, it recognizes what you're talking about. It identifies that Todd Young is the Duke of Spendingburg and why he is called that. I posted it up at Rob M. Kendall on Twitter if you want to see the picture of it. It's hilarious. It identifies me giving him the name. And that is, I can't even begin to tell you how funny that is, that this guy now is recognized. It's in the Google lexicon that Todd Young is now known as the Duke of Spendingburg. You guys are awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and take a real quick break. We won't be gone for long, just a few quick minutes. When we come back, Indiana's abortion law went down yesterday. The ruling is fascinating. And a bunch of state Senate candidates went to the White House to meet with President Trump. We'll take a quick break. We will be right back. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, you know, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com, sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Don't forget, you can follow us on Twitter at Rob M. Kendall. Check out robkendallshow.com. We've got all the live broadcasts there, on-demand podcasts. By the way, speaking of podcasts, you guys have asked for it. We have delivered. We are now on all the platforms. We got the link up, robkendallshow.com, whatever your favorite platform is. You can find us there. Live, you still got to watch us here on YouTube. But if you want to watch the on-demand broadcast, well, listen to the on-demand broadcast, I should say. We've got those platforms set up for you. You'll be able to get it each day. We told you it was coming. We told you, hey, look, it's a two-man operation here. We're getting help from some others on the outside. We'll tell you about them a little bit later to thank them. But it's a small operation, so everything kind of takes its own time. Little things pop up throughout the course of the day. It's like, well, we didn't think about that. So just bear with us, right? We told you we'd get to it. We do. You can now get your podcast wherever you want each day. Just head over to robkendallshow.com, or you can check it out. I got it pinned right at the top, the link that takes you to all the places. At Rob M. Kendall on Twitter. Hey, you guys didn't have to do this yesterday. The donations were outstanding. You guys were amazing. We did put a little donate button up on the robkendallshow.com if you want to do that. We didn't do it to pester anybody. We didn't do it to make you feel like you have to. We're doing this show because we love you guys. Just several of you had asked, hey, how can I support you? I don't own a business. I don't run a business. I just want to support what you're doing. We said, well, we'll put either just responding to everyone. Here's the link, whether it's $1, $2, $10, whatever it is. We said, we'll just do it there, but don't feel obligated. We're not pestering you for money. It's not what we're doing here. We just want to let everybody know it is up there if you are one of those people. Oh, and by the way, at robkendallshow.com, and this is really cool, we have transcripts of our favorite segments each day. Jason and I, we pick out a couple. We're like, hey, these are pretty good. We think people would like to read those. We transcribe the segments. You can find them there, robkendallshow.com, robkendallshow.com. Okay, so, and by the way, real quick, coming up next segment, James Briggs from IndyStar is going to be with us. The columnist, IndyStar. He has 2 columns out right now at the Star that I thought were super interesting, and we're going to talk about them. He's got one on Braun, and we talked about that yesterday, about why nobody likes Braun, about why his approval ratings are so low. And really it is because Braun doesn't know who he is. Braun is trying to be subservient to other people because he thinks that's what people want, and he's not putting the people first. We'll talk with Briggs about that. And then he had a column yesterday about Greg Ballard getting into the Secretary of State's race, about Diego Morales, and about how the Republicans have responded to Greg Ballard getting into the Secretary of State's race while completely ignoring just the numerous issues involving Diego Morales. So James Briggs is going to join us next segment to talk about that from IndyStar. Okay, so one of the big stories this primary season is that Donald Trump, with an assist from Turning Point USA, is challenging a select group of senators on the Republican side in the primaries. That's coming up first week in May. The challenge is centered around the senators who did not support redistricting. Of course, redistricting vote took place in December. The majority of Republican senators did not support redistricting, by the way. But only certain ones are up for re-election. They have staggered elections. And so Trump, along with Turning Point USA, Scott Pressler, the conservative activist, they've all declared war on these senators. And yesterday, the senators, the people that are challenging these incumbent senators went to the White House, got to meet with and got a photo with Donald Trump. According to the Capitol Chronicle, they included Michelle Davis, who's running against Greg Walker. Jeff Ellington is in a crowded field to replace Eric Bassler, who is retiring. Brenda Wilson against Greg Good. Paula Copenhaver versus Spencer Deary. Blake Fichter, who this guy recently, I think that's how he pronounces his last name, Fiechter. This is the guy, remember him, who recently announced he was dropping out. He made the big thing about, like, he got in, he was a local elected official, and he got in because Trump just randomly tweeted his name out, and he's like, oh, I guess I'm running for Senate. Okay. And then he got in and was like, ooh, this is really hard and takes a lot of time. I'm not running. Well, he was at the meeting yesterday, so I guess he's running again, even though he didn't announce to anybody I'm back in. And who's the other? He's running against Travis Holdman, and Tracy Powell is running against Jim Buck. Let's start with this. I have no love for any of these incumbent senators. I'm not in any way supporting them. I'm not in any way endorsing any of them. I didn't know Spencer Deary. He seems like kind of an all right guy. Like, he voted against the property tax bill. He's from the Lafayette area. But this is not in any way a defense of any of these senators. Some of them, like Travis Holdman and Jim Buck, have done immense damage. I do wonder, though, as an American, is this a great use of our president's time? Like, the president of the United States is meeting with a group of people who are challenging Indiana state senators. Like, he actually took time out of his busy day in a time in which we are essentially at war with Iran, all sorts of calamity in the economy. He's getting rid of his Homeland Security head. And a big portion of his day yesterday was spent around meeting with not state senators. And there's no issue in Indiana that's currently in front of Washington. It'd be one thing like there's this huge issue in Indiana that the Washington needs to weigh in on, and we need you to come, so let's work through it. It's just about a group of senators, challengers challenging incumbent senators. They're not even the senators. I don't know. Is that a great use of our president's time? it kind of seems like really punching down, doesn't it? And the question for Trump, if I could ask Trump the question, it would be, what are you hoping to gain out of this? Let's say they all win. They're all not going to win, but let's say they all win. You're not going to change the election map this year. You're not going to change the districts for this year, which means you will never be affected again because he's term limited. So what are you hoping to get out of this? If it's about sending a message, if it's about saying, well, I'm going to show you, you mess with Trump, you go down. Oh, okay. But we've seen Trump endorse before and it doesn't go well. I mean, look at the lieutenant governor's race last year. Donald Trump endorsed Julie McGuire for lieutenant governor, and she got beat. It's really embarrassing for the president of the United States to endorse in a quote-unquote local election, and it doesn't work out. It really seems like it's beneath the office of the presidency. Now, for these people that are challenging, I mean, the one guy, it's not like he'd put it, the guy that we do, Fichter, I think is his last name, Fiechter, maybe Fichter, I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It wasn't like he was planning to do it. He's just some local elected official, and Trump tweeted my name. Guess I'll run. Then he gets in and was like, oh, this is way too much time and too hard. I can't do this. But now he's back at the White House. It's not like they recruited these kids. Look, I know people who were recruited to run for this who didn't do it. I've talked to them. This is not some organized machine here. Like, they were throwing things against in Vigo County, where Greg Good is the incumbent senator, they tried to recruit multiple people who didn't want it. They tried to recruit one person who would have been kicked off the ballot because he hadn't voted in enough consecutive Republican primaries. That's how little research they were actually doing. I know, I talked to the person. I know the phone calls that went out. This is not some well-oiled machine, and it's not like they did some deep research. They had to find these people very quick. And in a race in which the incumbents are going to be very well funded, you have no idea what could come out against these challengers. I mean, again, the one guy got in because Trump tweeted his name, had no idea if he'd be good at the job, wanted to make a difference in the job, what can I do with the job? Oh, Trump tweeted my name, I guess I'm in. Oh, this is really hard, I guess I'm out. Oh, now I'm back at the White House. Are you running? Who knows? This is not the way this is supposed to work. And I also asked the very important question, what are these people running on other than redistricting? Look, is our state government better if Jim Buck, who has been there since the earth was young, is tossed out? Travis Holdman? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's better if those guys are gone. Those guys have done immense damage to our state. But what are these other people running on other than subserviency to Trump? Other than being errand people to Donald Trump? I don't want a senator that's going to be an errand boy or girl. I want somebody that's going to be an independent thinker. I'm running on A, B, and C. And when you see these people give their campaign spiels, whether it's on the internet or the videos they're making or whatever, it's just this broad stuff that tells you nothing. They're not running on specifics on how they're going to fix utility bills or property taxes or deal with the blatant corruption in state government or dismantle the IEDC or reform Medicaid, which is hundreds of millions of dollars underwater. None of that. They're running on, well, this guy voted against redistricting, and I'm here to support President Trump. Are you even going to be any better than the last guy then? If your whole MO is I'm just going to run to support Donald Trump? I want independent thinkers. I want people that are about representing the people of Indiana, not Donald Trump. So while these people are at the White House, and by the way, according to the Capitol Chronicle, here's the quote. So Jeff Ellington is one of the guys running in Southwest Indiana. I want to read this to you because this is fascinating. Ellington told the Indiana Capitol Chronicle he was in, quote, shock and awe of being able to meet Trump in the Oval Office. The Washington trip also included meetings with Senator Jim Banks and U.S. Representative Aaron Houchin, our old pal Hoppin' Houchin, professional office hopper Aaron Houchin back in the news. Aaron Houchin is the same woman who quit on her constituents in the middle of the legislative session. Do you guys remember this? She was a state senator. So she ran for Congress and lost. She was a state senator. And then she quit because the seat was opening up in the middle of the session to run for Congress. Left her people without representation in the middle of the legislative session. And Ellington, what he described as a political team, whom Ellington declined to identify. Listen to this. Ellington said he and other Indiana candidates left knowing that Trump's, quote, political team and his supporters are 110% behind us. He added, there's no doubt of campaign support for the 6 candidates, but came away without specifics on who would provide it. Guys, it's the middle of March. The election's in May. We're 2 months out and you don't know where your money's coming from or who's going to back you financially? How could somebody not have stepped up now? How could, if this was an organized thing, and again, like I told you, this thing was so disorganized, they were asking people to run without any research whatsoever who would have been kicked off the ballot in the race in Vigo County. I know. I've talked to one of the people who turned them down. You don't know? You're supposed to be taking these entrenched incumbents down with all the powers of incumbency. You're 2 months out of the election, and you don't know who's going to be funding your campaign? And what does that say about the people who do fund the campaign? These senators are going to be subservient to whoever funds the campaign. We bitch about the current senators and how they are beholden to special interest. Well, you guys are just basically admitting you're going to be the same. It's just a different special interest. It's just a different special interest. And by the way, nobody gives money for nothing. I mean, there are small donations that people will get, right? Like when we say, hey, if you guys want to give to support us, great, don't feel obligated. In politics, there are small donations who give because they like you, they know you, that's true. But the big donors, the ones you need to win, they don't give for no reason. There's going to be demands that come with this or expectations that come with this. And it sounds like the expectation is complete subserviency to Donald Trump. Which, whether you agree with Trump or not, that's not what you should want from your elected officials. You should want candidates that are going to fight for you. All right, let's talk about a big ruling that came down yesterday in Marion County. A Marion County judge, has struck down Indiana's abortion law. Now you're saying, abortion law? Wasn't that like 4 years ago? Yes, 2022, Indiana's abortion law passed. It has survived numerous legal challenges, but now at a local level at least, now keep in mind this is how this works. It's the local judge, and then there's appeals court, and then the state Supreme Court. So this has a long way to go. But in the opening salvo of this round of legal arguments, a judge struck down Indiana's abortion law. What's fascinating about this, by the way, Fox 59 has the article. Numerous other publications have covered this. The reason for the judge's ruling. This is really stretching it, but this is what the judge came up with. The judge said that Indiana's abortion law violates RFRA. Remember RFRA passed in 2015, Religious Freedom Restoration Law. This was the law that emanated out of the family or whatever they were getting in a legal tangle because they wouldn't bake the cake for the gay couple. And then it emanated all these states across the country were like, well, you have to be able to object to things based on your own deeply held religious beliefs. And so Indiana passed. It was a dumpster fire. Remember, Pence went on TV, got totally depantsed by George Stephanopoulos. They passed this religious freedom restoration law. The city of Indianapolis freaks out. We're not going to get conventions. These people are going to leave. That person's going to leave. And then they changed the law. They tweaked it, fixed it, whatever. Well, the judge claims that the Indiana's abortion law violates Indiana's religious freedom restoration law, and listen why. Because, by the way, the group that sued was a group of women, of course, right, that sued. But then it was also, I didn't even know this was a group, Hoosier Jews for Choice. That's the name of the group that was in on this lawsuit. They claimed that abortion is part of their religion. Now, I don't know what sort of religion you have where abortion is part of your religion. I don't think I want to know. But that was their case to this judge. Abortion and the right to have an abortion is a part of our deeply held religious beliefs. Sounds crazy to me, but here's what the judge said, and this is fascinating. And our old pal Jacob Stewart from IndyStar, we're going to have James Briggs on next segment. Jacob Stewart, the other columnist over at IndyStar, he found this, and he put it up on his Twitter feed. The judge claimed the law was discriminatory because it allowed abortions in some cases. And so because the state allows exceptions in the abortion law for things like rape and incest, but not religion, the judge said it was discriminatory. Basically, the judge's legal reasoning was because Indiana allows some abortions, it is discriminating on how it allows abortions, and if you're going to allow it for rape or incest, you have to allow it for religion, and the law had to go down. The judge wrote, quote, "The Indiana General Assembly has declined to explicitly define human beings to include zygotes, embryos, and all fetuses. The state has not satisfied its burden under RFRA to demonstrate a compelling governmental interest in enforcing abortion law against sincere religious practice, either in general or as to the plaintiffs." Now, this is going to be fascinating to see if this law stands up on appeal, because you can get a judge that'll say anything, right? You know, get Monroe County or Marion County, you get liberal judges more apt to maybe say something like this. It is an interesting, I don't know if pretzel twisting is the right word. Seems like a bit of a stretch. But that the judge actually said, because Indiana is not pro-life enough, because Indiana allows abortion in some cases, the whole law has to go down. So that's where it's at right now. It'll be appealed. We'll see what happens in the appeals court, state Supreme Court. We'll see what goes down. A couple of reminders. Don't forget, if you haven't already, please do us a huge favor. Subscribe to our YouTube page. That will help us out immensely, even if you just watch a few minutes a day. It's a big help for what we're trying to do here. Also, if you're a person that's like, man, I just don't, I'm doing this YouTube, it's kind of an inconvenience for me, whatever. And by the way, YouTube, we love you. Thanks for helping us out, letting us get the program on the air. We now have the podcast available so it airs live here on YouTube. We now have the podcast available on all the platforms, all the Apple, the Spotify, all the places. If you want to know where, how to get them, I've got it pinned at the top of @RobMKendall on Twitter. Got it up on the pinned on the top of Facebook. And you head over to robkendallshow.com as well and see them there. So anywhere you get your podcast from, you guys were demanding that. We said, we'll get to it. Finally, had a very kind soul that helped us out with that. We'll talk about him in a little bit. And we were able to do that. So it is now there as well for those of you who get your podcast somewhere different than YouTube. We're now on all of the platforms. Okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, James Briggs, columnist from IndyStar, is going to join us. He has 2 columns out that I think are just fascinating. One is about why nobody likes Mike Braun. And the second column is about the Republican response to the once golden child, golden boy, golden standard, Greg Ballard, the guy we were told Republicans said, you got to try to be like him. And his response, the Republicans' response to Ballard, getting into the Secretary of State's race as an independent candidate. So that is going to come up next. James Briggs will join us. Don't go anywhere. Very quick break. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, you know, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com. Sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, welcome back. It's the Rob Kendall Show. Follow along on Twitter at Rob M. Kendall, robkendallshow.com. There are two columns that have come out recently that I felt totally captured what is going on with Indiana politics and government right now and why our government is failing. They're by the same guy. Let's get into him. He joins us now, our old pal, James Briggs from IndyStar. James, hello.
Hello.
So these two columns, you've had them come out back-to-back days. I thought they were A-plus columns. We've talked about them on the show. First one is your column on Braun, in which you said a major problem for Braun is he's too focused on keeping Trump happy or trying to be Trump-like or keep the Trump orbit happy rather than listening to the voters of Indiana.
Yeah, we're coming off of a really embarrassing loss for him with redistricting. He sort of walked the plank for Trump on that issue and failed. And it still just doesn't seem like he's mentally adjusting to this new era where President Trump, Republicans can't just rely on Trump to do the thinking for them. And so we saw that reporters, of course, asked Braun, well, what do you think about Iran? And he just really reflexively offered the Trump line on Iran. But I just don't think that's going to work for him. I mean, we're seeing it not work for him. He's got 25% approval in Indiana. He's not a popular governor, and he's only 1 year in. Like that's a really bad approval rating for just 1 year into your term. He's got to turn it around, and I think what's very clear, especially again coming off of redistricting, just relying on whatever Trump thinks and saying that or doing that is just not going to turn it around for him. He's at a moment where he either needs to come up with his own reason for being governor, or it's just going to continue to sort of go downhill for him.
And one of the things you touched on, I think this is very true. And look, we really saw this. It's interesting you talked about the Trump era now. There was a time in 2018 where Braun really captured that Trump orbit and it propelled him past Joe Donnelly. But in 2018, we saw Todd Rokita go off the rails in a Senate race where he essentially tried to become Donald Trump. And he totally melted down. I was like, you're not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And Rokita was a guy who actually could have run on some government competency stuff. He was a good Secretary of State, but everybody needed to be Trump. I think you make a good point now. I think even people who are Trump supporters, it's not the end-all, be-all that it used to be.
Yeah, well, and there have always been issues with this approach, right? Like you mentioned Todd Rokita. Like, so he has run that playbook, but he's one of those people who doesn't understand exactly why Trump is popular. Todd Rokita has zero charisma. Donald Trump has a lot of charisma. Yeah. He's funny. He's interesting. Yeah. He's entertaining. He captivates people. Todd Rokita has none of those things. He'll try to be funny. He can do some funny social media posts sometimes. I don't know if he's doing them himself or somebody writes them for him. But he's one of those Republicans who he's like moderately successful in the Trump era. He's attorney general, obviously, but that's not where he wanted to be. He wanted to be in the Senate. Right. So he hasn't quite gotten there, and it's because he doesn't totally understand like why this has worked for Trump and why it doesn't work for him.
Yeah, so and so you go on in this column. James Briggs of IndyStar is our guest, talking about his column on Braun and why Braun is so unpopular. And then we'll get to this column, which is even better, the one on Diego and Ballard. I knew you were proud of that one because you told me, you said it's coming. And so I know how writers work. When you say it's coming, you're proud of it. The downstream guys are this way too. Beckwith, Morales, like all of these guys, and you wrote about this in your column, their gut instinct is, what would Trump do? What would make Trump happy? What would Trump's play here be? And they're not thinking of what do the people actually want.
Yeah, and I think I can't say anything with total confidence. I mean, who knows, right? Like, I've been wrong so much these last 10 years or so.
You actually have a column every year about things you're wrong about.
Yeah, I try to own it, right? Like, I do get things wrong sometimes. I try to own it. But right now, what I think is happening is if you can see signs all around. You can see signs the way Democrats are winning across the country in special elections. You can see signs the way the MAGA playbook just isn't working as well for Republicans anymore. So Republicans need to come up with something different, something distinct from Donald Trump. Like just being Trump or doing whatever Trump says on any given day, that's not enough anymore. You've got to come up with your own thing. Obviously, Trump is still very, very popular among Republicans. So, distancing yourself from him still has consequences, and I don't expect Mike Braun to do anything like that. But eventually, you have to tell the people of Indiana why you want to lead the state of Indiana, and we're just not seeing that from Mike Braun, and I think that's showing up right now.
Do you think he thought, he being Braun, they thought of redistricting, like it was never there? This is what I can't figure out. The polling showed it was never there. Rod Bray, the leader of the Senate, was telling him it's not there. And it's like playing a game of checkers where you have one king and the other guy has 5 kings left. Hey, the game is over, but you can just keep moving your piece side to side. Like, what was he do? What was his end game?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of the crux of the issue we're talking about. There's just sort of this assumption from folks like Braun that if you just do the thing Trump wants you to do, it will get there somehow. And we've seen that at times, and not all the time. I mean, we saw the effort to repeal Obamacare that failed in Trump's first term. So it hasn't always been the case that whatever Trump wants happens. But I think most of the time, Republicans in the end do what Trump wants them to do. And I think that Braun had this assumption that Trump and his administration was going to strong arm those legislative holdouts. They were going to do redistricting in the end. They could only hold out so long. And some of them flipped. So I think there were signs. If you were Mike Braun, you could see maybe the path there, but it didn't work this time.
You wrote about this, I think it was last year. It must have been last year because it's property tax related. By the way, my mother is never more proud than when she sees me in the IndyStar. To my parents, that's a huge deal. But I had my own show. No big deal. I had my own podcast. No big deal. Hey, you were in the Star. I saw you in the Star. You wrote to this something about this, and I think I experienced this too. Braun craves acceptance.
Yeah.
And so he keeps putting himself in positions like with property tax where he wanted our support. His heart was never really in it, but he's like, just whatever to get this guy to support me. I'll make whatever deal he wants to make because I got to have him. And he keeps putting himself, redistricting was sort of the same thing, but with Trump, where he writes checks with his mouth that his actions can't cash.
Yeah, property tax, I think that was even a worse example for Mike Braun because there was no Trump path to, passing property. Like Trump had nothing to do with any of that. There was a lot of grassroots support for it. You were a big part of that, but I think there were a lot of signs that what Braun was promising, he was not going to be able to deliver on, and he should have seen that. He had people telling them that. Right. I know he did. Right. But he just ignored them, and that's something I hear from people around Braun is one, Braun thinks he's doing a great job. Two, Braun,
does he really?
Yeah, that's what I hear anyway. That Braun, the feedback that we're seeing, the bad polling, the gaffes like redistricting and property taxes, like he just doesn't see that all amounting to a poor performance as governor. My understanding from people around him is he thinks he's doing great.
That's crazy. And do they show him these things like
that I'm not sure, but my understanding is he's reluctant to take advice from people who suggest you might want to try a different approach here. Yeah. He hasn't been receptive to that so far, and I think that's I think we're seeing that.
James Briggs, IndyStar, is our guest. Okay, column number 2, and this was so good. Everybody should totally go read it. You have a column on the Republican response to Greg Ballard getting in the Secretary of State's race as an independent. We spent a lot of time yesterday on this. These guys, I mean, they just pulled the mask off on who they are, where they're going after Greg Ballard for stuff, in some cases, they didn't even do.
Yeah.
But then their own guy essentially did as bad or worse than what they've accused Ballard of doing. They don't say a word about it.
Yeah, it's maybe it shouldn't be, but it's stunning. It's stunning to see the way that Republicans are just going after Greg Ballard. First of all, Greg Ballard was an extremely popular mayor of Indianapolis. The last Republican.
They loved him.
Yes, absolutely. And there was some tension there. He was on the wrong side of Republicans in some instances. RFRA. He was on the sort of resistance effort to RFRA. So that I think has been some long-term rifts there. But nonetheless, he was someone that Republicans could point to in Indianapolis and say, we have, unlike a lot of other states out there, we have a Republican-led, largest city in the state. They were proud of that. And I think overall, Ballard, I think, tried to govern Indianapolis as a Republican, even though you can certainly point to issues where, and I wrote about this, he had a lot of progressive instincts. But again, I think that's just sort of meeting your constituents where they're at. So his record, I think Republicans were proud of his record until like a couple days ago, until he decided to run as an independent for Secretary of State.
How do you do that with a straight face? And this we talked about yesterday. How do you do that with a straight face where for 2 decades you say, gold standard, this is the big tent, this is what we should be, Greg Ballard's great. And then in an hour, he's a carpetbagger, he's the worst guy ever, he's a big government liberal. And I said, well, I guess I was proven right because I was screaming about those things when he was the mayor. These guys just, like, they have no shame.
I think a lot of this is just projecting insecurity. Like a lot of people, especially people who have made their living in Republican politics, they get their paychecks or they get social status, whatever the case may be, they have made deep moral concessions the last few years. And they, when Diego Morales was doing a litany of corruptions that you have talked about, many others have talked about.
Which one?
A long record of incompetence. I mean, Diego Morales is close to the worst of the worst who have been elected to statewide office. But so many of those Republicans Republicans have just held their tongues because that is sort of the cost of doing business as a Republican right now. And then they watch Greg Ballard, who they admire, step out, take a risk, run for Secretary of State as an independent. And that really brings out their insecurities because, they didn't do that. They towed the line. They shut their mouths when Diego was doing corruption. But here's this guy sort of flaunting his independence, and I think it makes them mad.
Yeah, the one that gets me is, so Ballard moves to South Carolina, as many older people do. He's only there a couple of years. He moves back. He's been here for 3 years. And they're going on him on like his voter history. When Diego Morales, when he was running for Congress, voted in a county different from where he was taking his homestead credit, which you can't do, and they've never said a word about that.
Yeah, I was very interested in that discourse because I broke that story about Diego voting illegally, and I couldn't find any Republicans who seemed to care at the time. Nobody cared. I mean, that's part of this culture now within the party. To be a good member of the tribe, you have to sort of let your team coast to victory, as Diego Morales did, no matter what individual players have done to sort of shame themselves and shame the party all around. Diego is just an awful candidate, an awful state. I mean, everything that we knew about him when he was a candidate has come true also now that he's in office. And these Republicans, for the most part, have not said anything about it. But now they're just digging for whatever little scrap they can find on Greg Ballard. And in some cases, like this, this thing that Ballard shot down immediately about, this accusation that he may have voted illegally. Ballard shot that down, said no, he moved back, and he was only in South Carolina for a short while.
And that was a state rep that threw that out there.
Yeah.
Like someone who's in charge.
Right. So they're just looking for things to hang on Ballard now that in some cases explicitly do apply to Diego Morales, and they just don't care. So this is not about standards. This is about how it makes them feel that this run of Republican dominance where they don't have to worry about competitive elections, that period may be over right now.
Yeah, and you made a great point, and we talked about this at length. Greg Ballard, even if he doesn't win, can be immensely important because he may end the Republican monopoly.
Right.
What couple minutes are left with James Briggs from IndyStar? Can Ballard win?
You certainly can't rule it out. I would not say he's favored. We haven't seen any evidence so far that he's favored. But again, this is someone who had no money, no name ID, and he took on Bart Peterson, a Democratic mayor of Indianapolis in 2007, and he won. I mean, Peterson had hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars more than Greg Ballard did at the time, and I mean, everyone just assumed he was going to just crush him, and Greg Ballard won that election, so he knows how to win. He's got smart people around him. I mean, I'm assuming he's not stepping into this race with his eyes closed. He knows what he's getting into, so you certainly can't rule out the possibility that he wins.
Are the Republicans going to nominate Diego Morales now that they know I mean, they probably should have known the danger before, but they're not going to nominate him. Like, they got to get it together at some point, right?
That's such an interesting question, isn't it? I mean, because you've sort of been a part of that convention madness, with Micah Beckwith. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't have thought they would have nominated Diego Morales the first time, 4 years ago. And then everything we know about Diego Morales now, we knew about him then, and the convention delegates supported him anyway. You can sort of see this world in which this Greg Ballard entrance into the race is just making a lot of those delegates mad, and they're like, no, we're going to stand by Diego. Or, you can see it sort of having that kind of that kind of effect on delegates. I mean, these are folks who are the insiders of the Republican Party. They go to all the Lincoln Day dinners across the state. They are extremely involved. They're not the typical Indiana voter. And so it's really unpredictable, but they do have this recent track record of going with, sort of extreme problematic candidates and not really worrying about it.
Two fabulous columns. Read them both, the one on Braun, the one on Ballard and Diego. It's great. James Briggs, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out The Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at The Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, you know, that's what we have with viewers on The Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com, sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how The Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. Follow us on Twitter at Rob M. Kendall, robkendallshow.com. Again, final hour of the week. I want to thank you guys for an incredible first week. Exceeded all my expectations. You guys have been absolutely outstanding. Can't thank you enough for those of you who have liked, who have shared, who have subscribed, told your friends. You're in the chat. You guys are amazing. And it's just been a really, really touching to see the response from people. You know, I'm not going to lie to you. It was a rough month and a half. You know, when you do something for so long and it kind of becomes your, at least public identity. Look, I've always said, my identity to me now is as a father. That is the most important job I will ever have. It is the job I look most forward to every day. And it is, I talked with many of you that did this time that I was off about perspective. And I feel like I handled being off much better, being away from you guys to some extent, because of the life experiences I've had the past several years. When you become a parent, everything else gets put in its own perspective. And I think I was able to handle this much better because of that experience as a dad. But in terms of a professional identity, when you're in the same place for several years, 9 years, and it's the place you sort of grew up wanting to be, and then you're not there anymore, you kind of struggle for a while to figure out who you are professionally. What do you want to do? And heard from many people about a variety of different opportunities. And what I really realized was talking with you guys, whatever the platform may be, that's in my blood. Fighting for better government, fighting for you guys, being a voice to make a difference, that's in my DNA. And thought about doing some different things, and then I realized I just can't. We have to keep fighting. If you give up, the bad guys win. The bad government wins. And I knew it was going to take a while to build something from scratch. But if you think about where we started a month and a half ago and where we are now, from a bedroom to here, and how great this is and how great you guys have responded, it's just the beginning. You know, in the past week, now we're on all the platforms. You can find us on the Apple and the Spotify, all the places you get your podcasts. I've got that link up at Rob M. Kendall on Twitter. Also, robkendallshow.com has the link. Beginning next week, we're hoping to expand to where you can see us, view us. Hopefully the social medias, the Twitter, the Facebook, you'll be able to see us in those places as well. It's all a process. And one of the things you learn, and I know you guys know this, but one of the things you learn as you go through life, you learn about patience. You learn about being able to have perspective on things. You learn about being able to see what does this look like in a month versus what it is today. And I'm not great at that. Patience, not my thing. But I've had to make it my thing. And part of having patience is trusting that you guys get it, that you guys will stay with us as we grow, as we expand, and that your passion for good government, for Indiana politics and government and news is going to sustain as we grow, as we have those hiccups along the way. So I just want to thank you guys for an incredible first week. You guys have been amazing. I want to thank Jason, who's just done a phenomenal job. Chris Spangle has been immensely helpful in terms of us having a studio, in terms of us being able to get these things to these platforms. And it's, like I said, from the beginning, it's going to be a community. We're going to do this together. We're going to drive this together. It's going to grow together. And you guys have just been the absolute best in terms of just staying with us and being supportive, and I can't thank you enough. Also, Monday, we're bringing producer Jason in. He's going to be in charge of the Monday chats. He's going to be reading some of the best chats. This is one of the things, it's like we talk about building the airplane. How do we get the chats? Because we want to include you guys into the show. We feel very passionate about this being a community, this being a place where we're all welcome and we all feel like we're part of a team. And he's been, kind of handing me the iPad, right, so I can read some of them. Jason's a trained professional. So Monday, the best comments are going to be read by Jason. Producer Jason's going to read them. We're putting him in charge of that. We think he can handle it, and we're looking forward to that. And by the way, just a reminder, you have to be a subscriber in order to chat. The rules of the chat, you don't have to like me. You don't have to think I'm doing a great job. You don't have to say any of those things. I'm a big boy. You do have to behave like a member of decent society, though. If you get out of line, Jason's going to throw you out. So we'll start reading those chats beginning on Monday. So lots of big things are still coming. We're going to continue to grow. You guys have been just amazing. And I can't thank you enough. All right, let's get back into some of the news. Now, the next guy we're about to talk about, he's scheduled to be with us on Monday to talk about this issue and others, and that is the state treasurer, Daniel Elliott. Daniel Elliott came out on earlier this week, a couple days ago, against BlackRock purchasing AES. So we did a deep dive on this earlier in the week, but just in case you missed the program, BlackRock, it's a private equity firm. It does not have a great reputation. And they are purchasing AES, which is the power provider for the city of Indianapolis. Now, this comes on the heels of massive rate increases over the past several years, issues with customer service, etc. And so people are rightfully very concerned at a time where they are being priced out of living by these utility companies and the state government, who doesn't appear to be doing much, if anything, to stop them. Now, Braun has espoused, hey, we're putting an end to this. Well, ultimately, it's the IURC, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, who's going to decide whether rates keep going up or not. Now, Braun gets those appointments, but what those people do, up to them. And there's nothing that we have seen from the Braun administration in terms of public policy that shows they're actually about. With Braun, you always got to get past the lip service. Braun is great at paying lip service to people. He writes checks with his mouth that his actions can't cash. And so Braun said, we're gonna get serious about these utility rates. Well, there's no policy that shows there's no actual laws that show they're getting serious about it. There's nothing that's been passed by the General Assembly or signed by Braun that shows you will see decreases in your utility bills anytime in the near future. And so when you factor in then essentially a bunch of for-profit mercenaries, which are what private equity is, right? Purchasing a publicly traded, because AES is one of the big five. There are 5 shareholder-owned utilities. AES is one of them. It's in Indianapolis, so it's a major deal. And then you add to that gas to that fire of BlackRock coming in and being the owner. People are very concerned. So Daniel Elliott, state treasurer, actually has a history with BlackRock. According to the Indiana Capitol Chronicle, the story I used, we love the Capitol Chronicle. Starting next week, Nikki Kelly's going to be back with us. Elliott led the charge to get BlackRock removed from Indiana's public retirement fund. He was very concerned about the politics of BlackRock, allegations of liberal investment decisions, and he also had expressed concerns back then about fiscal management and the Qatari support for the militant group Hamas. So Elliott has a track record of having issues with BlackRock. Now, he has come out and said that he is concerned about this purchase of AES. He said, quote, Hoosiers need to be guaranteed that they will not face harm at a time when affordability is the most important issue facing all of us. I hope that the federal regulators that are in charge of reviewing and approving this merger will complete a full review and give Hoosiers complete transparency in terms of that deal. Now, Daniel Elliott, as a state treasurer, manages more than $16 billion for the state. It's kind of weird how the state works. The treasurer doesn't pay the bills. He essentially manages the money. The auditor, well, it's not the auditor, it's the comptroller, pays the bills. Now, the pushback for Daniel Elliott on this, because this deal, or the rumors of this deal, or that this deal was likely to go forward, were announced back in October. And naturally now, people are coming out of the woodwork going, hey, wait a second. That's great that you don't want BlackRock to buy AES, but they've already started the process. Where were you in October when that would have been probably the time to come out and try to put a stop to this? Now, his chief of staff claimed that Elliott did not release a statement at the time because his team didn't have enough confidence in the details reported. That's weak. And I know Daniel Elliott's chief of staff, nice guy. That's a very weak answer. And we'll ask him about that when he's scheduled to join us this week. And we like Elliott. He's always been very upfront with us. He's a straight shooter. He's very competent. But that's a rightful criticism. If you weren't speaking out when the deal was rumored to be going forward, it sort of seems like a little late to the party now that the deal is moving forward. But we'll see. However, when you compare Elliott's statement with no real power over this, no pun intended, no real power over this. See what I did there? Compared to Braun, who, according to Capital Chronicle on Monday, said that his primary ask is for utilities to bring down rates regardless of ownership. Why isn't Braun making these forceful statements? Why isn't Braun the one coming out and doing this? I thought Braun was all about affordability. Your respectful ask, these companies are going to wipe their butt cheeks with that. People don't see Braun as serious about anything, and they certainly don't see Braun as being serious about getting utility rates lowered. And I don't think anybody thinks that as a result of BlackRock buying AES, that anything is going to get any more affordable. All right. This is a wild story that sort of involves Indiana because the guy was from Indiana. I don't know if you guys saw this. This story was all over the news. A bunch of local news stations covered it. I'm going to work from the story on WTHR, but it was covered all over the country. So this guy, his name is Dustin Turner. He has spent the past 30 years in a prison in Virginia for a murder in 1995. And he got released finally Thursday morning. So 1995, Turner is convicted of first-degree murder and abduction with intent to defile in September of 1996 for the killing of a 21-year-old woman the year prior. He was convicted along with this guy was a Navy SEAL candidate. So he was obviously like very, very well thought of. He was in school to become a Navy SEAL, member of the U.S. military. He was convicted along with a fellow SEAL candidate by the name of Billy Joe Brown. They were handed 82 and 72-year prison sentences without the possibility of parole. Okay, seems pretty straightforward, right? Here's where this story gets interesting. Turner claimed at the time, he said, look, I helped Brown. So Turner's the guy we're talking about who just got released from prison. Brown is his fellow Navy SEAL who was also convicted of murder. Turner claimed at the time, look, I helped dispose of the body and did not call the police. I admit I did that, but I did not kill this woman. Brown then later confessed that he did it alone, that he did the killing, according to WTHR. And in 2008, a judge ruled that Brown testified falsely at his own trial, and the court then ruled that Turner had no role in the murder or restraining of Evans. All right, so are you following me? So these two guys are convicted of murder. The one guy says, hey, look, I helped dispose of the body and I didn't call the police. I admit I did that, but I didn't kill this woman. And those penalties are markedly different. The guy that was trying to help pin it on him, according to WTHR, then later gets exposed by the court basically as a liar, and they say, well, Turner didn't have anything to do with the whole thing. So in 2009, so it's 2026, right? We're talking about stuff from 17 years ago. This guy was still in prison before Thursday morning. In 2009, Turner was granted a writ of actual innocence, which was the first in Virginia based on non-biological evidence. However, then that ruling was later overturned. And then he proceeded to sit in prison until yesterday. Think about that. Now, this guy is originally from Indiana. Finally, the correctional system in Virginia, the parole system, was like, dude, this guy deserves to be out. We've got all this background with this guy. There's serious doubt about whether he did it. And they let him out. However, because remember, his initial conviction was without the possibility of parole. However, the murder and abduction conviction still stands. That's crazy. This guy has had this hanging over his head. The court previously said that the other guy lied. They basically declared him innocent. All he did was the stuff that he confessed to, which was helping dispose of the body and not calling the police. Not to say that that's a small thing, right? But it's not murder. And yet, despite this happening in 2008 and 2009, he has still sat in prison until yesterday. That's crazy. We have a major flaw in our justice system. If you've got one guy, according to the court, basically being a proven liar, you've got this writ of innocence given to this guy, and then it takes 17 years for him to get out of prison. Look, I am all for the violent offenders amongst us. And we talk about all the time about how Marion County, Indianapolis, has not done a good job of prosecuting violence and making sure violent offenders stay incarcerated. I am all for ensuring that dangerous violent offenders are not allowed back out on the street. But when you have such serious doubt about this guy and what he did, that even on multiple occasions, the courts were like, yeah, he probably didn't do anything. You can't let that guy sit in prison for 30 years. He went in a boy and he comes out an old man. His whole life was spinning behind bars for something that he probably didn't do. We got a major problem with our justice system when you can have the court system saying a guy didn't do something, and yet he is still spending an additional 17 or 18 years behind bars, 30 years collectively. That is not okay. Something needs to be done about that. That's not all right. Okay, we're going to take our final break. We've got a long segment to wrap up the show. We got a bunch of stuff to get to. Bad news for a very famous celebrity. There's something that we can learn about what's the latest developments in the Texas Senate runoff right here in Indiana. And most importantly, the history of our communities is being plowed over. The history of our communities is being destroyed. I'll give you one example of what's happening here in central Indiana. Tell you what I'm talking about. You're watching Rob Kendall Show.
Bramwell Mackay assists managers of multifamily and commercial real estate properties with exterior and structural condition assessment and end-to-end building wellness. Your consulting partners for water intrusion inspection and remediation, Bramwell Mackay handles historic restoration and repair, as well as modern repair needs. In Indianapolis, call 812-33-BRICK. That's 812-33-BRICK. 812-33-BRICK.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Thanks so much for checking out the Rob Kendall Show. And remember, please like, share, and subscribe, and tell your friends about us. If you own a business or you're in charge of making decisions for your business, we'd love to get to know you. We'd love to learn more about what you do and how here at the Rob Kendall Show, we can help you get your word out to a very loyal group of people. Because, you know, that's what we have with viewers on the Rob Kendall Show, a really loyal group of people. Send us an email, sales@robkendallshow.com, sales@robkendallshow.com. And I look forward to getting back in touch with you to learn more about your business and how the Rob Kendall Show can help you grow.
Are you a Clay County resident who is ready to be part of creating a brighter future for our citizens? Doug Cobb is running for county commissioner and will bring fresh perspective to the table. A local farm and business owner, he has skin in the game of our county's success. He knows that a great team can accomplish so much more than any one of us alone and is ready to create a brighter future for Clay County together. The committee to elect Doug Cobb approves this ad. Paid for by Linda Cheatham.
Hey guys, it's Rob Kendall. Welcome back. Rob Kendall Show. We got a lot to get to. We're going to talk about one event that shows that our community in Central Indiana, our history is being gutted. And so we'll talk about that in just a second. I did want to read this, though, because this was fascinating to me. This came from our old pal, Christopher Bilbrey, who does the Political Spotlight podcast. Been on, I don't think I've ever been on the Spotlight with him. He was on our old radio show. Up there, Delaware County area, covers a lot of local government, covers state government. Political Spotlight's the name of the show. He sent this to me. He claims this comes from the Delaware County, Indiana Republican Party chairman. So what, that's Muncie, right? Many of you have seen that former GOP Indy Mayor Greg Ballard is running for Secretary of State as an independent. Please remind your organizations that openly campaigning for or supporting a candidate running against a Republican nominee can be grounds for a challenge to standing in the Republican Party. Anyone openly supporting an independent who has plans to run for anything in the future needs to consider our state party rules on this before acting. Happy Wednesday. So they are already sending out the marching orders to people saying, if you have any thought of having independence in your brain and supporting Greg Ballard, we are coming after you if you don't toe the party line. Think about that. Everybody knows who Diego Morales is. Everybody knows about all the stuff. The 10-day mysterious trip to India that he won't tell you who paid for. Of course, then he'll shout, I paid for India. I pay. With no proof that he actually paid or who he paid. They know about the $90,000 car. They know about the hiring of the family member with the sweetheart job. They know about the no-bid contracts. They know about him voting in a county different where he takes his homestead credit when he ran for Congress. All of these things. You know, he's obviously under this issue now where he's running this ad or had to post this ad that involved county election workers, and Marion County was like, please take that down. And that is still an ongoing. Like, it's just never in. The BS with Diego Morales never stops. It never ends. Diego Morales never, ever stops with the BS. And everybody knows this. Everybody knows this. And yet, their only response when somebody threatens the shield is, you better not support Ballard. You support Ballard and you want to run for office, we're throwing you out. When just the other day, Ballard was great. Ballard was fine. Now, my question to the Republicans is this. Does Donald Trump have to leave the Republican Party? Because if you're out, if you support someone other than a Republican, Donald Trump just supported Andrew Cuomo in his independent run for mayor of New York City. So, Mr. Delaware chairman, is Donald Trump out in your mind? Are you guys coming after Trump? Are you going to kick him out? Are you going to ban him? Well, he can't run for anything anymore. But he may try. This is ridiculous. And these people keep showing you who they are. Absolutism. They know what Diego Morales is. They know how vulnerable he is. And instead of just doing the right thing, which is saying, why don't we just nominate somebody good? Why don't we just nominate somebody competent? Why don't we just nominate someone who isn't a continual pile of BS and a total embarrassment? Their response to that is, if you support Ballard, you're done. The Ballard running is going to be the best thing for Indiana politics and government because it's going to expose front and center who these people are. The two parties are the problem because the two parties are about the two parties. They're not about you. They're not about helping you. They're not about bettering your life. No matter who the Republican is, you got to support them or you're out. No matter what human trash they put up, you support it or you're out of here. and they're putting it out on full display for everyone to see. All right. Let me tell you about my friends at Bramwell Mackay. Leaking chimney, water in the basement, cracks around the exterior of your home. Bramwell Mackay Property Services and Consultants is your authority for chimney repair, tuck pointing, foundation repair, crawl space to basement conversions, basement waterproofing, and more. Bramwell Mackay doesn't offer quick patches. Their team of 40-year master masons and industry experts address the root cause and provide solutions that last lifetimes. Your home is your biggest investment. Treat it that way. Bramwell Mackay, your masonry foundation and chimney specialists. And thanks to all the fine folks that are supporting this program. We got new ones coming on next week that we'll tell you about. Make sure you reach out to these people. Let them know, heard the ad. May not need your service right now, but when I do, calling you. That will really, really help us. So I want to talk about a story that came down in Westfield yesterday. And it's from RTV6. There were other news outlets that cover this, just chose to use RTV6 as the outlet. And it really gives us another example of how the history of these places, which once defined them, is really being gutted. And we're talking about Westfield right now, but this is happening all over central Indiana. Not this exact thing, but in the sense of what made us great, the history, the buildings, the things, the people that sustained us as a community that was passed down through generations. It's going away. It's going away because it's not convenient anymore for the quote-unquote progress that needs to take place. So this involves Westfield's oldest commercial building. It's known as the Green Building. It's right there at the corner of, State Road 32 and Union Street. If you have been through the main drag there in Westfield, you've probably been past this building. Years ago, used to work in Noblesville. Get this. So we started Jason and I started an internet radio station in Noblesville back in like 2003. This was high tech at the time, guys. If you had your 32-bit stream and we could go out and go to basketball games and football games and announce the games, like, it was a big deal. And so we used to go right through the heart of Westfield and go past this building all the time on my trip to Noblesville. So I know exactly where this building is. Now, this building is almost 200 years old, and it has been in the heart of Westfield, essentially since its inception. It's got an incredible history. It was a grocery store. It was a cafeteria. Been a whole bunch of other stuff. The building itself is the marking of time, and the building itself in that location is the marking of time of the city of Westfield. And sadly, as of today, scheduled today, I assume it has gone forward, that building is being picked up and it's being moved. It's being moved near the city hall. And they're doing this because they're widening State Road 32, which runs through the heart of Westfield. And look, I understand this, that sometimes these things have to happen. And unfortunately, with growth comes these hard choices. And sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But it seems like we've egged these decisions on, especially the past 10 years. It seems like we have incentivized these decisions through irresponsibly growing our communities. Jamming as many people into these communities. Hamilton County is, right, like ground zero for this. Where we have growth for growth's sake. We lose semblance of identity and in the individual aspects to communities that have given them that identity. And all of these places just are kind of the same. And there are obviously differences to the way the new architecture, the new zoning, all of that. But the identity, the history, the things that made these communities special is being erased. One of the ladies they interviewed, RTV6 interviewed, her name is Judy Shuck. She's a fifth-generation Westfield resident. I thought this quote was perfect. I always say, if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going, period. And I think that's spot on. I live in the town I grew up in. I live right next to the house I grew up in. I think about that place that I grew up and how that place doesn't exist anymore. About how the things that made that place special, the small businesses, the knowing of everybody, you knew every business, you knew every street, you felt like you knew every person, you knew every neighborhood. I lived in Brownsburg and it meant something. You might have lived in Greenwood and it meant something. You might have lived in Carmel and it meant something. All across Indiana, the towns had identities. The communities had identities. Do we really have those identities anymore? Or are they all just merging more and more into the same place? Like they all just come together where one town or one city is just flows into the next. That's not good. Where you live should mean something. And too often now, where we live is just some place we put our head. One place we sleep. Sure, you may be involved in some things in the community, but how many people do you actually know? How many people are you actually connected to? How many businesses are you actually connected to? There was a time I could walk down Main Street as a kid, and I could tell you every person who was in every one of those buildings on Main Street. I may not known the people, but I knew what they were. And I knew what they did. And you knew who you sat next to at the basketball games. And when you were out in town at the grocery store, even if you know people's names, you knew the faces. The history of the town meant something. The cemeteries and the people in them, it had meaning. There were different cemeteries, and they meant different things. How many people do you think in your community are remotely connected to that community now? The growth has gutted the fabric of central Indiana. It has gutted the individualism of different places in central Indiana. And the growth has led for the need to do these projects, and the growth has led that the infrastructure can't keep up. And so you take something like the Green Building, which at least they were able to save it. I don't think a lot of these buildings they ended up keeping. Those had history as well. At least with this building, they were able to keep it. But they're keeping it at a place that it doesn't have any meaning to. You could go in that building and you could stand in a spot that almost 200 years ago somebody else stood. And you kind of knew what they were doing there. You would look around and you could feel those people around you. The history was all there. Generations and generations and generations. They talk about the cemeteries. Like, I love old cemeteries. I love old cemeteries. And I love reading the inscriptions on them and knowing those people stood in the same places that I stand now. In places like Westfield or Carmel or Noblesville or Greenwood or Whiteland or Brownsburg or Avon, there's nothing anymore. Nobody's connected for the most part. You go to a Walmart, you don't know the people there. Heck, half the people working at the Walmart, they got to struggle to speak English now. Irresponsible growth from communities and the state of Indiana with irresponsible economic development deals has destroyed what it meant to be a Hoosier and what it meant to live in central Indiana. Okay, Jason handed me something here. Breaking news. Oh, boy, howdy. Abdul, our old pal Abdul, IndyPolitics.org, just reported that the Marion County Board of Elections is referring concerns about Diego Morales' campaign video to the Inspector General and the Ethics Board. Thanks to Debbie Holcomb, who pointed that out. Debbie, we love you. So Debbie's fascinating. Her son, Michael, is our WIBC super fan. We love Michael. Michael's an incredible story. He has listened to us for years. Michael has, for lack of a better term, he has cerebral palsy, but he is smart as a tack. He is brilliant. He just struggles to communicate, but he can communicate. Michael came to the studio several times to see us. In fact, he made me a fabulous painting, and Debbie is his mom, and she is awesome. So this relates back to we mentioned it earlier, the campaign video. So Diego put out I assume this is what he's referencing, a campaign video last year, and in it there was footage of Diego with the Marion County election people. Like he's because the Secretary of State is the chief elections officer for the state of Indiana. He oversees elections in Indiana. And part of this video, they filmed him, his campaign or whatever, filmed him going to Marion County to do something with election workers. And these workers came out and they were like, wait a second. Like, we're just here to do our jobs as the government. We don't want to be involved in politics. Probably in many cases, they're not even supporting him. And like, we don't want to be in your video. You can't use official government action for campaign purposes, dude. So they sent him a correspondence, basically said, take it down. These people don't want to be involved. You can't use government resources to campaign. Take it down. And as my understanding, we talked with Abdul about this a couple weeks ago, maybe it was State House Happenings, that either it took them a while to take it down or it may have never even gotten taken down. It was a rather flippant response from the Morales people. And so now it appears, I assume this is what this is related to, Marion County Board of Elections is referring concerns about that video to the Inspector General and the Ethics Board. So we'll see what happens out of that. If that ends up ending up in the lap of Ryan Mears, I don't know. We'll see what happens. That's big news. That's a big deal. Like the idea that you would even think you could do that. It just tells you exactly who Diego Morales is. All right. Let's talk about what's going on in Texas, because this is very interesting about how people are viewing our elections now, and I think it's going to spill into what's going on here in Indiana. So Ken Paxton and John Cornyn are going to a runoff. In the state of Texas, you have to get 50% of the vote plus one, a majority in order to win. If you don't, if nobody gets 50% plus one, the top two vote getters go to a runoff. Seems like an absolutely horrible way, horribly expensive way to administer elections, but that's how they do it in Texas. And now Trump has said that he's going to endorse between Cornyn and Paxton. Cornyn is the incumbent. He's been there since the earth was young. He's an establishment swamp monster. So you would have to say to yourself, how could Trump possibly endorse Cornyn? But the belief is that Trump is going to endorse Cornyn. And Trump has done this before, by the way, where he has endorsed, see, like somebody like Lindsey Graham. Trump endorses these establishment people all the time and then bitches about the job they do, then bitches about the establishment, then bitches that they won't get rid of the filibuster. Ken Paxton responded to the news that Trump may be about to endorse Cornyn, and rightfully so said, it doesn't matter. I'm staying in. Which, why would you get out? Why would you possibly think that one man can control the votes of all these people? Like, if you're Ken Paxton, you shouldn't be running for Trump. You should be running for the people of Texas. And Trump can pick whoever he wants to pick. It's a mixed bag when he picks people. See what happened here in Indiana 2 years ago. It's not the end, but the idea that you would, well, you must drop out because Trump said. He's not a king. You're running for public office. Trump then gets told that Paxton said he's not dropping out. Here's Trump's quote. This is according to Politico. Well, that's bad for him to say. That is bad for him. So maybe that leads me to go the other direction. So what Trump is basically saying is, unless you agree to do exactly what I say, which is get out of the race if I don't pick you, then I'm not going to pick you. Does that sound ridiculous to you guys? I hear that and I go, pick whoever you want. But the idea that you think some person is obligated to drop out because you don't pick them, who the hell are you to say that? Now, Paxton then came out in response to that and said, okay, I'll drop out if the Senate agrees to end the filibuster and vote on the National Voter ID bill. So there's a bill in front of the Senate that would require you to have to show some sort of uniformed ID in order to vote in America. The Senate does not have the votes to pass it. They don't have the votes to overcome the filibuster. Trump has wanted them to gut the filibuster on this. The Senate has thus far resisted those efforts. Paxton then came out and issued this quote where he basically is trying to convince people, I'm the most pro-Trump guy. The truth is clear. No one has been more loyal to Donald Trump than me. Fighting the stolen 2020 election, being in Mar-a-Lago when he announced his 2024 campaign, and standing with him in New York in the face of lawfare. For the good of our country and for the good of passing President Trump's agenda, I am determined to help him get this done. Our elections are more and more becoming about not the people, not the voters, not the taxpayers, but who's the bigger Trump cheerleader? The job of the Congress is to be a check and balance on the president. Areas where you agree, great. Vote together. Areas where you have points of commonality, great. Vote together. Be a team. But that doesn't require you to be completely subservient, and you shouldn't want that. You should want independent thinkers in there that are going to go for good policy. And when bad policy is presented, they're going to fight back against that, regardless if it's somebody of the same party or a different one. And yet, one election after another, and we got into this a little bit with Briggs earlier, one election after another, seems like these people are still trying to say who can be the most pro-Trump person. It's great to support the president when he has good ideas. That's wonderful, and he has a lot of them. But every idea is not good. Every idea is not helpful. Trump, see COVID. Look at what he did during COVID. Trump and the Republicans in the Senate, because the Republicans had the presidency in the Senate, along with the Democrats who had the House, printed $5 trillion+ in 2020, which bribed the states to shut down. If the federal government had not printed the money, the states couldn't have shut down. Was that a good choice? No, absolutely not. We need people who are going to push back on that. Not subserviency, but independent thought, independent thinkers, people who are like, wait a second, that doesn't work. That's not right. We can't do that. But what the Texas race is becoming is more subserviency, less independent thought. And that is happening, as to bring it back here to Indiana, with these candidates that are challenging the incumbent senators. They're not running on property taxes or utility bills or government corruption or Medicaid debacle. They're not running on any of that. If you guys can show me the posts where these people are talking about that, let me know. I'm all ears. They're running on, well, we got to meet with Trump. Who cares? What does you meeting with Trump, how does that help me at all? Trump isn't paying my property tax. Did you guys get your homeowner's insurance? Mine just came the other day. Going to go up. Again, money just lit it on fire. Just goes out the window. See you later. Didn't get anything better. Just paying more for the same stuff. And this keeps happening in this country over and over and over again. And I think a big reason we're not getting serious about inflation, about government spending, about holding the government accountable is people are afraid of Trump. Whatever Trump wants, we do. Why would you do that? You can have disagreements with people and still not hate them or dislike them or not be a team player. Jason and I disagree all the time. Jason says some unrepeatable things to me, and then we go about our merry way. Like, that's normal. That's how people. That's how people. And we are not peopling anymore in our government. If your campaign is, I'm the most subservient to some other guy who doesn't live in your state, you're doing it. You're doing it all wrong. All right, couple of reminders before we kind of wrap things up and talk about where we go from here as we go into the weekend. Couple of reminders. Number one, if you guys are coming to the live show tomorrow, I'm so excited to see you. The meet and greet starts at 5:30. Hammer and I have the live show in Greenwood. Mad Hatter Comedy Club. That's going to be a fun event. We got some special surprises for you guys. Hammer's going to do a set. I'm going to do a set. We're going to come back on stage together and have some laughs. We're going to do the 10 people we hate, which is hilarious. I'm so excited to meet you guys, all of us to be back together again. The event sold out. We sold out initially, sold out the extra tickets, sold out the extra tickets again. That place is going to be packed. It's going to be fun. The meet and greet starts at 5:30. The actual event is not until 7, but if you purchase the meet and greet tickets, we will see you guys at 5:30. We are super stoked for that. All right, next thing. If you don't love us on YouTube, but you love us potentially on other platforms, we now have got that covered. If you go to robkendallshow.com, we've got the link to all of our platforms up there. I've got it at Rob M. Kendall on Twitter, pinned to the top of the page. We're on all the places, the Apples, the Spotifys. You'll be able to get the podcast of the show live for now. This is the only place to get us still, right here, 10 to noon. But if you're like, man, I love listening to you, YouTube's just not my favorite platform, which how could it not be? We love you, YouTube. You guys are awesome. But whatever your favorite platform is, you can get us there, be a part of that. Speaking of lives, next week, hopefully, you're going to be able to get us live at a couple of different places, the Twitter, the Facebook. Like I said, everything's a one step at a time. One step at a time. Do we break this? Nope. Okay, now we can go to the next step. So hopefully next week, because we've just had great numbers on the Twitter and the Facebook, said, hey, we got to get that over there. And so we'll try to figure that out, make sure we got that all under control this weekend. and hopefully be beaming it out to those various places coming next week. So big things are happening. It's been a phenomenal first week. You guys have been outstanding. If you haven't, I know it's a broken record, but just go subscribe to the YouTube page. That helps us immensely. Tell your friends about us. Let us know where they can get us. We want to spread the word, and now we're on all the platforms, so people got no excuse not tuning in to the Rob Kendall Show every single day on all of the platforms. All right. I think I've pretty much checked all the boxes. Where do we go from here? For those of you who are new to the program, every show, we take all the information that we have gathered today, the topics we talked today, and we sort of talk about where do we go from here. And I want to kind of come back to where we started. We started the program today talking about Kristi Noem and the fact that she was run out as the head of Homeland Security. Variety of reasons, but it really centers around this this $220 million ad buy that her agency did that really just appears to be a promo piece for her. Not a lot of perceived benefit for the taxpayers. She tried to claim in the hearing that Trump said he signed off on it. He then said, no, I didn't sign off on it. Then she was in really big trouble because the perception she might have lied in front of Congress. And then, of course, there was this requirement that she put in where any purchase above $100,000, any contract above $100,000, she had to personally sign off on. So she tried to say she didn't know anything about it. Well, that is in direct contrast with what she said. And the bigger issue with this, as we talked about earlier, is not this one individual. All of these politicians, not all of them, but a lot of them are really rotten people. And they're really not in it for you. They're really not in it for anyone but themselves. And so one of the things you've got to think about as you make your decisions to vote this year is how do we get people that have a chance to be in it for you? How do we find people who are actually willing, as you people know, my daughter, Olivia, she loves Veggie Tales. You guys seen the Veggie Tales? It's a great cartoon. They're talking vegetables. They do all these crazy things. And one of our favorite Veggie Tales is about temptation. And this is hilarious. So the bad character in this one is called Bad Apple. And Bad Apple tempts the various Veggie Tale people into temptation and predicaments. And they get in a real bad way because they give in to temptation. And that's sort of like what's going on with our government. The donors, the lobbyists, and they're really just the government existing because it takes money from people and gives it to other people. That's what government does. It takes money from someone and gives it to someone else. That is really the function of government at the end of the day. Government is set up for weak people to fall to temptation. Government is set up for people to fall to the trappings of power. Government is set up so that weak people become subservient to their own vices. And in many cases, the vices of people in government, and I've said this for a long time, government is made up of a lot of people who are the people who got stuffed into lockers when they were kids. The nerds in high school. And this is their power play. Being in the government is their chance at relevance. It's their shot to be someone. It's their shot to say, look at me, I made it, I'm someone, I get to say what goes on now. And because they never knew how to human, they never knew how to handle acceptance, or they never knew how to handle power or influence, they can't do it here. So they fall into the trappings, just like the Veggie Tales. They fall into the trappings of temptation. And in the case of Kristi Noem, look, some people it's, hey, now I'm driving a $90,000 taxpayer-funded automobile. You know, some people it's, oh, so people will pay for me to go to foreign countries. I'm not going to tell you who it was. There's all sorts of temptations that people can fall into as a result of having essentially unlimited, or the potential to have unlimited power. Kristi Noem's is that she believed herself to be special. That, like, think of it logically, like, think about the derangement or just the mental failings of somebody. What's going on in their life where it's like, okay, we're $35 trillion in debt. I'm appointed to serve the people of this country, and I think it's going to be okay to spend $220 million. $220 $120 million on a promotional ad, which is largely just about myself. There's something seriously wrong with these people. But there's also something seriously wrong with someone who spends $90,000 on an automobile. There's something seriously wrong with that person, too. And what's the excuse? Well, I have to travel over the state. No, you don't. You ever heard of Zoom? And if you do have to travel over the state, a $50,000 car wouldn't get you where you need to go. But think about whether it's Diego and his $90,000 car or Micah Beckwith, the lieutenant governor, and his $87,000 car. Was there any real pushback from the Republicans? Not really. Was there really any public shaming from the Republicans? Not really. Again, just like with what they're doing now with Diego, defend the shield at all costs. I will never forget one of my first days when I worked for state auditor's office. One of my first days in the State House, there was some scandal that was known in the State House that had not made it out to the public yet. And I remember asking someone very high up in the state hierarchy, I said, why isn't the other side exposing this? This is like a kind of a big deal, and it seems like it should benefit them. And I'll never forget what this person told me. And I remember exactly where I was when they told me, where I was standing in the State House when they told me. It's like one of these moments that just stayed with me. They said, the problem here, Rob, is almost all of these people are dirty. And almost everyone knows almost all the dirt on everyone else. And so they protect each other. They protect each other because they all benefit from the position. Now, occasionally things get exposed through reporting or investigative journalism or whatever, and they can't defend it, right, once it sees the light of day. But these people will always defend each other. It's like the mafia. My old man said this a while ago. We were talking about this. And he said this. He goes, Rob, you got to understand, because I just have, as you guys know, there's just intense frustration with how these people get away with this stuff. Intense frustration on all this blatant BS, the blatant misuse of taxpayer money, all of this stuff, and nothing ever happens to these people. Nobody ever holds them to account. And my dad told me this. He goes, Rob, you got to think about it like the mafia. The government is the mob. It's like the five families. They're all committing their same level of, they're all engaged in their same level of shenanigans. And they all know about each other's shenanigans. But do they run to the cops and tell the cops about the other family doing something? No. Why? Because they're involved in crap too. Everybody knows everybody else is dirty, but they're not going to risk exposing that because it could eventually blow back on them. And so in the trappings of power, in the abuse of taxpayer money, in the abuse of taxpayer resources, it's just commonplace and nobody speaks up. Now, these senators started going after Kristi Noem because they don't like her personally. They saw her as a fraud. They didn't like, Ice Barbie or whatever her name was. And Tom Tillis is on his way out the door anyway, the North Carolina senator that started the pressure yesterday or the other day. He don't care because he's leaving. But by and large, this stuff keeps happening. People keep getting away with it because we do not hold these people to account. And the trappings of power of government, the access to essentially unlimited resources, these people just don't have the moral fortitude to say no to it. They're like bad apple has put whatever their vices in front of them and they can't say no. For Larry Boy, it was chocolate. For one of them, is video games. It's amazing how accurate VeggieTales actually is. My point of all this is, look, guys, don't give me crap on the VeggieTales. I've had to watch it nonstop for the past 2.5 years. I've seen every single one of them now. I can do it by heart. I got to at least be able to get something out of it for me, and we'll use it as an applicable example on this show. The point for you guys is, you got to figure out, and I don't have all the answers on this because I've been lied to numerous times. Look at the people previously that I've supported. They all go, I want this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to be different. You can only grill somebody in so many ways. That's why I'm out of the endorsement game. Because they all lie. They all stab us in the back. They all fail to follow through. It doesn't matter what somebody tells you. They get in there and they just do the exact opposite and go, well, I guess you should go F yourself. So that's why I'm out of that game. But somehow we got to figure out a way to see if there are any real people left. any people who can actually stand up to and resist the temptations of the trappings of power and government. And how do we hold them accountable? I don't know. I'm not saying I got any answers on this. I don't. I mean, I thought with people like Micah Beckwith, there was like, okay, one guy that will never be led astray. Look at what a disaster. He's been worse than all of them. So that's why I'm out of that game. What I do know is, though, that the trappings of the power of government and the abuse of taxpayer money is happening over and over and over and over again. And by the way, with Kristi Noem, they just gave her another government position. It's not like they sent her to a soup kitchen line. It's like she's in the unemployment line. I don't know, guys. I think going from here, though, we got to figure out a way to find real people who can't get taken into the trappings of government. That's an Herculean task. And then we got to find a way to hold them accountable. It was also known as the well duh portion of our show today. Where do we go from here? And also the well duh. All right. Monday, State Treasurer Daniel Elliott is scheduled to be with us. We're going to be talking with him about his objection to AES. We're going to talk with him a little bit about election season. He is up for re-election. We're going to talk about, sort of how some of this stuff plays out with the Secretary of State's race, how that may affect him, and the comptroller, at least Nishala, she's up for re-election as well. We'll talk about the Bears Stadium, financing on the Bears Stadium. He doesn't have a direct role in that, but I know he's got some thoughts on that. And so it's going to be a great show on Monday. We're going to start having these guests rolling in. Want to wrap up our week saying thanks to a couple of people. First of all, can't thank this guy enough, Chris Spangle. Chris has been awesome with us. He's been so helpful, letting us set up the studio for us to use until we get our own place built out. He's been great helping us get the things on the platforms. Chris Spangle, leadersandlegends.net is his website. It's what he does for a job, the podcasting, the social media. If you need any of those services, he'd be a great guy to call. And I've known Chris for years. Chris cares deeply about good government. I've known Chris since he was the head honcho at the Libertarian Party in the 2010s. And he's just been so good to us and so helpful. And so I can't thank him enough. Jason has done a great job this week. Look, it looks pretty simple, right? It has not been simple, but we are trying to make it simple. And Jason has put countless hours into this. And so we can't thank him enough. And most importantly, we want to thank you guys. You guys are the glue, the backbone, the thing that is holding this together. Without you, there is no us. And that is going to be true from day 1 to day 100 to day 1,000. Without you, there is no us. And we couldn't do it without you guys. So thank you for an incredible first week. Please continue over the weekend. Tell your friends. Like us, share us, subscribe with us. We need that. It's going to continue to grow. We're now on all the platforms. You can find him at robkendallshow.com, at RobMKendall, pinned to the top of Twitter. And hopefully next week, I don't know if it'll be Monday, but we're going to start being able to, you're going to start being able to get us live on the Twitter, the Facebook, and there'll be new ways to find us. So I hope you guys have a safe, very happy weekend. I'm looking forward to seeing all you people who are going to join us. You people! Looking forward to seeing all you people who are going to join us tomorrow night in Greenwood, Mad Hatter Comedy Club, for the live show. So be safe out there. Take care of yourselves. And we will see you on Monday. For producer Jason, I'm Rob Kendall. You've been watching Rob Kendall Show.